My daughter is 25. She's lived with her fiance for almost 3 years. We have 3 other kids, 23 female, 22 male, 19 female. My 23-year-old lives with us, and my 19-year-old is home for the summer. 4 months ago, my husband got an email from our niece, 12, that we've met once. The email basically said that she needed help and she had a bad home life. She had come to visit with her parents a couple months before that, and I had a gut feeling that something was wrong, but I couldn't do anything about it. I went to pick her up, CPS was involved, and she lives with us now. My oldest was okay with my niece staying in her room when we thought this would be temporary, but it looks like her parents' parental rights will be terminated and we'll adopt her. Now that we're most likely adopting her, she needs her own room. Giving her my oldest daughter's room just makes the most sense because she doesn't live here anymore. I called her and told her it looks like we'll be adopting niece. She needs a bedroom, and her bedroom makes the most sense because she doesn't live here anymore. It's the biggest, and it's closest to our room. We told her we'll be packing her stuff and we can keep it in the garage for a few months, but she needs to come and sort through it and decide what she wants to keep and what she wants to give away. She told us that if we give away her room, she'd never speak to us again. We tried talking to her about it because it can't stay her room forever, and we have someone that needs it, but she still said either we keep her bedroom and figure out another place to put niece, or lose her forever. We thought she'd calm down eventually, and converted the room to my niece's room. We packed all of my daughter's stuff and it's waiting in the garage for her. She won't talk to us and we're uninvited from her wedding, so I want to know what we should do. Yikes! She really thinks she should get to keep a room at a house she doesn't live in. As a 25-year-old adult, I'd let her throw this fit and act a fool. This is completely ridiculous. That 12-year-old needs your help. Your daughter needs to grow up. That girl sounds like she's been through hell, and your daughter luckily sounds like she didn't have a life like that, so she should be thankful. Your daughter is 25, hasn't lived with you in 3 years, and is throwing a tantrum because her 12-year-old cousin, who you saved from an aggressive home, is sleeping in her room? There's something wrong with her. Was she always a spoiled, entitled brat? Wow, your daughter is super entitled. Has she not for 1 second thought about what your niece is going through? Also, it's not her room. You own the room, and you allowed her to use it when she was growing up. She's being pathetic. Honestly, just say to your daughter that you're helping your niece, now daughter, and that your new daughter has every right to that room as she once did. When she's willing to grow up and talk to you again, that you'll be here. Our stepmom, 55, has been in our lives 15 years. She's a gossip, gives unsolicited advice on everything happening in your life, and is overall pushy and abrasive. The whole family tolerates her, but she's too irritating for anyone to be her friend, except my dad. She was at the wedding, which was perfect until the reception. It was a fish steak buffet. In short, many guests were waiting for the line to go down before dishing up, but the line wasn't shortening because some people who ate first went back for seconds. There were about 20 people who didn't get entrees. My sister was livid, and she went around the reception hall in her white gown apologizing to people who didn't eat. Thing about sis, she often goes straight for the nuclear option when mad. No diplomacy, no hostages. She eventually took up the mic and did a whole room announcement again apologizing to guests who missed out because of inconsiderate people. Then she added, for example, stepmom, who lives in $1 million house but still felt the need to take 1 steak for now and 2 more to shove in her purse for later. Yep, stepmom had wrapped 2 free steaks in napkins to go. Stepmom left pretty fast. Dad was furious at sis. Most of the family said it was an over-the-top response, but that stepmom also had it coming. Jokes still get cracked over it 3 years later, and stepmom hates it. She never apologized, and in fact, thinks sis owes her the apology. Yesterday was my grandfather's memorial service. He passed away in January, but we couldn't have the funeral then. After I spoke, I stumbled in my new heels. I walked it off, no big deal. Everyone went to Aunt's house for lunch, where stepmom kept ragging on me. Hey, if it isn't Surefoot. Do we need to play Bambi? Let you learn how to walk? Maybe flats would have been a better choice for a funeral, I finally had enough and said, I'm just glad I didn't do something to really embarrass myself, like steal free food from the mouths of hungry people. Sis replies, yeah, that would have made you look like a total a-hole. This caused a major argument which resulted in stepmom leaving in tears, Dad yelling at us for not accepting her as family, and everyone else quietly shuffling food around their plates and smirking. After they left, the rest of the family supported me and sis. I don't think I'm in the wrong here because stepmom was the one who pushed my buttons first, but maybe I should have left her indiscretion in the past. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole, and it's too late, but I've been at large gatherings with buffets, and the MC, or someone, tells people to go by the tables and makes it clear that everyone goes once before people go again, and sort of monitors who goes and gets food. It's pretty obvious when you do it that way who is cheating, except if someone does grab 3 steaks at once. Not the a-hole. She was in the wrong, and still 3 years later thinks she is the one who deserves an apology. I would bring that up forever until she realizes how much of an inconsiderate person she is. Not the a-hole. I am team you and your sis. Stepmom can cry all she wants. And what's up with your dad? Too blind to see what's right or wrong? I, 34 female. I'm a hairstylist and own a salon. My niece Camille, 17 female, has been expressing becoming a cosmetologist since she was in middle school. When she asked could she and her friend shadow me for a week to get a feel of what I do on a day-to-day basis, I of course told her yes. My niece has always been outspoken, but I never thought she would bring that attitude into the salon, especially since we talked about it. My sister and her husband let her get away with her sassy, rude mouth, but I'm not having it, so she knew what I expected. First, it was her telling the receptionist that she wasn't doing her job properly. That I had to reprimand her about. While her friend was laughing, she wasn't saying anything. Next, it was her taking pictures of my customers without their consent while they were in the middle of getting their hair done. Something else I spoke to her about. Last but not least, I caught her telling more than one of my stylists that they were doing a bad job of styling hair and needed to go back to school. Telling customers that their hair was a mess and should have come in sooner. I made her apologize immediately. I tell her to get her things and we leave. I let her have it once we dropped her friend off. I told her that she knew better and that her attitude wouldn't get far in this business. How disappointed and angry I am with her that she acted this way. That she couldn't come back to my salon until I say so. I asked what she was thinking. She said she was just speaking her mind. I told her no, that she was being rude and disrespectful. That just because she feels a certain way about something doesn't mean it gives her a right to speak on it. Obviously, I hurt her feelings because my sister called upset wondering why my niece was crying. And after I explained to her what happened, she goes off saying that she's still young and learning. I told her that she may be young, but she's old enough to know how to treat someone. That her excusing her behavior is part of the problem. It's different because I'm her aunt and everyone knew that. But it wouldn't have been the same outcome if she weren't my niece. That she's liable to say the wrong thing to someone and it turn out bad. She called me a bad aunt, saying that she'll never forgive me for hurting her daughter like that. Did I go too far? Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. That girl is in for one hell of a rude awakening when she goes out in the real world with that rude mouth. You tried. Good luck to them. Not the a-hole. You told her your expectations before going in, and she decided to ignore it. This is your place of work, and she is jeopardizing your relationships with your clients and coworkers. Honestly, this is one of the best things you could have done, because it shows that real life has real consequences. My dad came home from work one day to find all her things and their youngest daughters gone. It was ugly, and he was so sad. He wanted a divorce after 20 years of marriage. Less than a month later, he found out he had stage 4 cancer and had like a year. He only lasted 5 months. Now, my stepmom hated my brother and me. We were from his first marriage. I was made to live with his mother, my grandma, at like 8 years old. My grandma was the best possible mom ever, but I had such a lonely childhood. I never got to see my siblings, and my dad just listened to what she wanted to avoid arguments. She had my brother put in jail for some BS charges she made up at age 14. She kept us as far away as possible, but that changed when I turned 18 and finally got my license. Me and my dad saw or talked to each other every day. My brother got out when he was 21 and came to live with me at grandma's. He had an excellent relationship with him also. Stepmom had started the process of divorce with the courts, but put it on hold when she found out he was sick and dying. The oldest of their 2 girls still lived with my dad, but she was no help at all. He called me crying one day because his house was trashed and there was dog crap everywhere. My sister said it would be good exercise for him to clean it up. He could barely get out of bed, let alone clean up after her dog. So I went over to clean, and my stepmom found out I was there. She came and literally dragged me out of the house, pissed I was there helping. I wanted to punch her so bad, but my brother stopped me. So I just started to walk home. My dad picked me up on the side of the road and we spent the rest of the day together. When he went to the hospital the last time, both my sister and stepmom kept telling the doctors to pump him full of pain meds. He ended up ODing and died. A mercy killing. He didn't want to die. I'm so glad I was there. I held his hand the whole time. It's like he waited till my stepmom left to go grab a sandwich. Somehow he knew she was gone and he could finally get some relief. When it came time to do the funeral stuff, she said she was too poor to do anything but cremation. And his birthday party we had planned in 4 days would be the only kind of service or call hours. When her dad died almost a year later, she had everything for him, including a church choir. I ended up paying for most of it, and honestly, it was a great send-off. He would have loved it. She told everyone he had no will or life insurance policy, and we believed her. So dumb. I didn't know it was all public records, and nobody really tried to find out. She let the house foreclose, and me and my brother got to pick through the leftovers to find things of his we wanted. My brother was supposed to get all of his tools, but most were gone or sold off. I had given my dad my old car, and she sold it, and when I told her I wanted the money, it was a big fight, but she eventually gave me less than half of what she got, but it was something. Now, 5 years later, we find out about the will. It was dated 2012. He claims to have only had their 2 kids. She gets it all. Me and my brother don't exist. She was the executor of the will, and her cousin were the seconds. There is no kind of letterhead or lawyer listed on it, and every initial of his in the margins are different. Also, no initials on the first or last page. It's clearly not his signature. On the next of kin file online, my brother and me are listed as locations unknown. We live a mile away. She even went as far as posting an article in some no-name newspaper trying to locate us to inform us of his death and to come forward or lose out. Ohio only gives 3 to 6 months to contest a will. I don't know what to do. I don't even care about the money. The witch stole my dad and made my childhood miserable. Is there anything at all we can do to make her pay? She and her daughters live a block away from Lake Erie now, and they all have new cars. They kinda cut ties with us about 3 years ago, which is fine with us. She should not be allowed to get away with this. Last I heard, my dad's ashes were in a garbage bag at the bottom of her closet. It's all so unreal, and I really needed this vent because I just don't know what to do. You need an estate lawyer who is well versed in this kind of thing. It seems like she defrauded your father's estate, and possibly his life insurance, and that's a big deal with a longer time to pursue than just contesting a will. You will want to go into that meeting with as much evidence as possible. Bring copies of the fraudulent will, the actual will, and anything with your father's signature from before his death, driver's license, any public paperwork, etc. You should also be realistic about your ability to collect anything from her. The estate lawyer will charge you real money to pursue the case, and you only get money if you win and she has any money to collect from. If her cousins and daughters were listed, you may also be able to sue them for being party to the fraud. But regardless, you can't receive money they don't have. If she committed insurance fraud, you will want to contact the Financial Crimes Department of your local police ASAP. The lawyer may advise that for the estate fraud anyway. Insurance fraud carries a possible penalty of 6 months to 5 years jail time in Ohio, depending on the amount defrauded. Life insurance typically isn't a small amount. My ex-girlfriend and I were together for almost 3 years. She always dreamed of taking a vacation to a country she loves. So for our 3-year anniversary, I wanted to surprise her with this vacation. But she ended up breaking up with me about 2 months before the trip because, according to her, we weren't working out anymore as a couple. It was really hard for me, but there was nothing else to do other than respect her decision. So I accepted the breakup and moved on with my life. At the end, the breakup was pretty amicable, but I still paid for the trip I was planning to take with her. My first plan was to get it refunded, but I would lose almost half of what I paid for because most of the planned activities weren't refundable. About a month after the breakup, I reconnected with an old friend with benefits, and we hit it off. We started talking more frequently and started spending more time together, but kept everything very casual. I was still stuck with the trip I booked, and instead of losing half of my money, I decided to ask my friend if she wanted to take this trip with me, and she agreed. We ended up taking the trip, and we had a great time. I didn't really tell anybody or post anything about the trip online. My friend did put a few things on her social media, and my ex found out that I took the trip with my friend. When we returned from the trip, I got a call from my ex-girlfriend saying that I hurt her feelings for doing something she always wanted with another woman, and we could have taken the trip as friends. I just told her that we were no longer together and that I didn't owe her this and moved on. I later on got flamed by our mutual friend for being an insensitive a-hole and for not taking her feelings into consideration. I feel like this is a lot of unnecessary drama for no reason. I don't want these friendships of the past few years to break because of my breakup. What is the best way to deal with the situation here? Take me on a trip that you paid for, as friends after I dumped you, is wild. That's indeed a lot of unnecessary drama, true. She can't expect you to take her to such a vacation as friends when she broke up with you. That would make a mess out of your coping process of the breakup. It was good you didn't post too much about it online. That was a nice approach to avoid drama, even though your friend did, so your ex found out. Crap happens. She can't blame you for not taking her on that vacation. You don't owe her this.